Hello and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm back with my beloved Jeep Cherokee. Last winter I thought that I had a leak in my heater core, and I was mistaken, by the way. And so I put some of the stop leak material in my vehicle, and within about 2 weeks after I did that, the heater basically decreased in efficiency by 90%. And so essentially I went up to the ski resort all last winter with almost no heat left in the car, barely above room temperature. So today I'm going to be starting an effort to recover the heat in my Jeep. And the way that I'm going to do that is that today I'm going to be attempting a heater core flush on my Jeep, and this heater core has not been flushed in the 26 years since I've owned the vehicle. So let's I've studied some videos and I've read a lot of journals, and I'm ready to give this a try. As usual, I have never attempted something like this before, and but I'm hopeful this is going to work out okay. Recognize that the ambient temperature now is about 80 degrees, so it's about 55 degrees warmer out than it is in the wintertime when I'm taking this Jeep up to the ski resorts. But we'll do the flush now, and we will see if we get a higher temperature out of this Jeep. I'm a little bit concerned because this thermometer only goes up to 120 degrees, and I'm hoping that this will get a lot hotter than 120 degrees, but again, we'll see what happens. So, as you can see, the Jeep is warmed up. That's as high as the thermostat needle goes in this car. It's warmed up, and I realize this isn't the most scientific method that I can use, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn the heat on. Again, the ambient temperature is about 80 degrees. I'm going to turn the heat on to the third setting. I'm going to use this temperature gauge, hold it up there for about a minute. So this is a little better view of what I'm trying to do here. And we've had it on now for about a minute and a half. Let's see what kind of a reading we get. So I don't know if you can read that. It's a little bit hard to read, but there it is. It's indicating I've got a reading of about 110 degrees. So if you're not familiar with the way this works, this guy right here I'm pointing to, that's your radiator. Okay? Here's your thermostat housing right in here. We have these two hoses that go into the firewall right here, and your heater is right back here. Now the way to do a radiator flush, and I'm going to do this different than the way other people have said to do it. For some reason, a lot of people are disconnecting these two hoses at the firewall. I'm not sure why they're doing that. As you can see, I have much more convenient access to these hoses off the thermostat housing, and that's where I'm going to disconnect them. So if you look right here, you've got these two clips. Everybody hates these clips, but you've got these two clips, one here. The second one is on the thermostat housing. We're going to loosen those, and we're going to disconnect both of those hoses. That's going to be step one. Okay, so I'm going to run 3 gallons of hot water through the system, and it'll leak out the bottom. I'll stop one at a time. I'll stop after each gallon. It actually drains in fairly slowly into the hose. And I can already hear that it's leaking into the pail below me. I'm looking down into the engine well, and I can see it leaking into the bucket. Okay, so now you can see how to do this. I'm not going to extend the tape longer to watch you go through each one of the 3 gallons, but I'll get back to you once I've got the 3 gallons run through the line. So as you can see, I have the hose right here, dripping into this bucket right here. Now it's important for you to catch this, particularly the first flush of fluid into the heater core, because that's going to contain a lot of antifreeze, and you want to be able to recycle that. So let me go up and let me go to the top hose. Look at the amount of debris that came out of my heater core. Can you see all that crap? I wound up putting 5 gallons of fluid in the intake port and 4 gallons of water through the extake port, and this is all the fluid this is all the debris that came out. My goodness, it's a wonder I got any heat out of that unit at all. So remember, we lost antifreeze when we started to do the drainage out of the heater core, so we do need to replace that antifreeze. You don't want to forget to do that. So unfortunately I can't do it one-handed, but I'll get back to you once I've got this taken care of. The way I'm going to do it is I'm going to pour the antifreeze down here into the intake hose and wait till I get some discharge out of the extake hose, and that will tell me I'm relatively full, and then I'll top it off if I need to. So it didn't take too much antifreeze, about 2/3 of a quart, to top that off. The only thing left to do now is I need to put the clamps back on the hoses and take it for a test drive. We will retest the fluid levels after we've driven a little bit, just to make sure that they're not low. But at this point, the job is finished. The only thing left to do again is take it for a test drive and see if we get any better heat. And so here is the acid test. It's gone, it was actually, when I took it off the heater, it was up at 120 degrees. So it's 10 degrees cooler as I'm taking this test, and it's 10 degrees warmer than it was before. So I'm going to call this a success. So just a couple of thoughts in closing. Now, what some people do is they actually buy some hardware and they attach it to the intake hoses and the export hose, and they screw a nozzle to it, and then they force pulses of water into the heater core. Now, other people are very wary about doing it that way because apparently the seals on the heater core are somewhat delicate, and there's a concern they can actually burst those seals and you have to replace the whole heater core, which is a real problem. But in the end, you saw the test just a few minutes ago. The ambient temperature now is 10 degrees colder than it was when I took the first test this morning, and the heater core is pumping out heat at 120 degrees. So it's running 10 degrees hotter in temperatures that are 10 degrees colder. So at this point, I'm going to call this experiment a success. I won't know for sure whether or not it's successful until I'm obviously driving around in 20-degree temperatures, and that won't be happening here in Utah unless something significant happens with the weather. We won't see temperatures like that until December, and I'm doing this in mid-August. Anyway, you know, the name of these videos that I'm doing is called Jeep Repair for Beginners. And I've never done a radiator flush before. This radiator has been flushed in 26 years. And I didn't find it all that hard to do. A little bit slightly finagly to get those clips off the hoses and getting the hoses off, but not really that hard at all. On a scale of 1 to 10, I would rate getting the clips off at a 4 and getting the hoses off at a 4. Not that hard at all, just a little bit finagly. And I'm glad I did it. I think the heater core is running better now than it was before I tried to do the flush. And the bottom line is, now that I know how to do this, and it's not really that complicated, next October, if I find that I just don't feel like I'm getting as much heat as I want to get out of it, because one of the things about Jeeps is, man, they put great heaters in their vehicles. And if I'm not getting the heat out of it that I wanted to or expected to, maybe I'll do another flush. But overall, at this point, I brought my wife in my car with me, and she's really sensitive to heat. I mean, she needs things, wants things to be hot, or at least hot enough. And she was real unhappy with this Jeep in the winter, and she was real pleased with how much heat was coming out of the vents. So I think it was pretty successful. I'm glad I tried it, and I hope if you guys find yourself in a similar situation as the one that I found myself in, that this will be helpful to you in solving the problem. So thank you for joining me on today's video, and I'll see you in the next video. I am, by the way, going to get back to hiking soon. I haven't done a hiking video in a couple of months, and I'm actually going out tomorrow on another 17-mile hike. So I'll probably start filming hikes again in September. Okay, see you soon.